everyone, welcome back to the Pocket Nutritionist. My name is Katie and today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make your very own crispy, crunchy kale chips. That's right, you're going to be able to have dippable, crispy, crunchy kale chips and you're going to absolutely love these. I have been spending many months refining this recipe and believe it or not, I actually made it more simple than the original recipe because I think that these are actually better with less ingredients. These are completely raw vegan, oil-free, reasonably low fat. I do want to mention for any of my viewers that don't do seeds, there are some seeds in this, just some chia seeds. I know that a lot of people want to remove the fat completely. This is just an option for if you can tolerate a little bit of fat. Personally, I don't usually go to seeds. I don't usually eat seeds at all. I don't usually eat nuts at all either. But for this recipe, I have included a small amount of chia seeds just so that the crackers stick together a little bit better. I've personally found that chia seeds, of all the seeds, are the ones that I tolerate best. And I found that they don't throw my fats too out of balance during the day, as long as I don't go too far indulgent and eat the whole lot all at once. But beware, because these are so tasty, you'll probably be inclined to want to do that. Even Troy absolutely loves these. They're so delicious. They're, you know, Moorish. And it's a wonderful substitute for potato chips or crackers that, I mean, I used to always love to have a cheese plate with crackers and wine and all of that jazz. But this is a really wonderful option and you can turn it into something really beautiful. You can put it with the crudité platter like I posted a couple of weeks back. If you want to check it out, check out the link below. You could add in some of those aspects. You could do it with a lovely dip. There's so many different ways that you can enjoy these crispy kale chippies. The other reason I decided to make them this way was because it was only about a year or so ago that I was first introduced to the concept of a dehydrated kale chip. A lot of the recipes that I looked at though had a lot of seeds and nuts associated with the sauce that they'd put through it or the coating. So I thought, oh, I've got to work this out. But the issue I found with the kale chips for me personally is that they don't hold up so well when you want to dip them. So I wanted a dippable kale chip, and so this is why I have created this recipe for you. If you are new to the channel, please click the subscribe button because I share recipes that help you lose weight and have more energy than you know what to do with. So for this recipe, you will need 1 bunch of curly kale, organic preferably, and you'll need a total of 140 grams of the leaves. So a big enough bunch that you'll yield at least that much. 2 medium-sized zucchinis. So the recipe calls for 320 grams approximately, and that's usually works out to be about 2 zucchinis worth. 3 Medjool dates, organic, pitted. And I do recommend the organic ones here because the other ones, they usually irradiate them. So go with the organic Medjool dates and remove the pits. You'll also need 25 grams of organic chia seeds and ½ a cup of water. You can also add about a ½ teaspoon of salt if you wish, or you can choose to omit. For this recipe, you will need a little bit of equipment. So if you don't have these items, it may be a little more challenging for you to make the recipe, or you may just need to adjust and adapt to what you do have available. You need some sort of blender, high-speed blender, or a NutriBullet. I recommend a blender for this one because there's the NutriBullet will make it much more difficult to do this recipe. So if you can get a blender or a food processor, I think that would be a good option. For the chia seeds, I recommend using a little coffee grinder, so coffee or seed grinder. So what this will do is freshly grind the chia seeds, and if you do it fresh, then it's not going to go rancid. So that would be my suggestion for the chia seeds. I'd grind it on the day that I'm making it and then put it straight into the blender when needs be. You'll also need some sort of food dehydrator. So I have got an Excalibur 9 tray dehydrator. I really love this machine. I think it's fantastic. It wasn't the first machine that I invested in, and I wouldn't recommend it for someone who's just starting to transition off a standard diet. What I would recommend first would be something like a blender or a food processor first, and then progress yourself along. But if you're really keen in the kitchen and you really enjoy making these sorts of things and you think you'll use it regularly, I think it's worth the investment to get a dehydrator like that. There's lots on the market. This is just the one that I chose to get. And you'll also need the trays that come inside that dehydrator and some of the silicone mats. So I've washed these zucchinis. Now I'm going to simply chop them up into slices and put them into the bowl, ready for use. I'm looking for 320 grams. Okay, that's 331, but that's okay, a little bit over's all right. Okay, so the next step is to freshly grind the chia seeds. Simply put the chia seeds into the grinder and blitz it up. So the next step is to grab one of the kale stalks and remove the leaves from the stalk. So I'm putting this into a salad spinner because we're also going to wash and massage the leaves as well. So to wash and massage the kale, I've got it in this little spinner basket. I'm going to place some food grade bicarbonate soda, about half a teaspoon, into here with some water, and then put the kale back inside, wash it around and give it a good massage before we start to use it. I'll also spin it and give it a little bit of a dry. I can't give you a real scientific reason why I think this step is important because after all we are going to be blending the kale and it's going to be broken down anyway. This is just something that intuitively feels really right to me. So if you don't want to do it, you probably don't have to. But I think washing the kale, there's just something really nice about it. There's something really nice about, you know, touching the food, feeling the food, and putting your own little bit of love into it. Okay, so now that all of our ingredients are prepared, we're just going to toss it into the blender one step at a time, and these steps are important to follow. I do find that doing it this way yields the best result, and I'll explain as we go. So the first thing you're going to pop into the blender is the zucchini. Like that, with the half cup of water. And I'm just going to blend that up until it's fully smooth and really easy to move around in the blender. So what we're trying to create here is a really liquidy base for the kale to go into, so that when we put the kale in handful by handful, it completely assimilates so that it makes room for more of the kale and gives the chips a much more even consistency at the end. So now what I'll do is place one handful of kale in at a time, completely assimilate it in the zucchini liquid, and then add more until I've run out of kale. If you're enjoying this video, please click the like button or comment below. So you can see now as it's getting closer towards the end of the kale here, the mixture has become much thicker. So it might just take a little bit extra time just to make sure that it's fully blended through as you add in the rest. See that? It's moving freely. Because it's moving freely, we know it's all really well combined. Now we can go ahead and add in the Medjool dates. Blend them through. Okay, and then the very last ingredient you'll add is the ground chia. When you add this, personal experience for me has been that it's best to add it while the blender's going. Obviously never stick your hands in the blender, but keep it going so that when you pour the chia seeds in, it really helps to assimilate it quite quickly. And you don't want to be blending the chia seeds for too long either, because that can also change the texture of the chips at the end. So I would suggest no more than 10 to 20 seconds of blending the chia seeds. Of course though, you want them to be fully assimilated and uniform throughout the mixture. Just do your best to do it quickly. Probably less than 10 seconds there. Now the mixture is ready and we're going to pour it into the tray. Okay, so we've got the dehydrator tray here and a long spatula. I got the idea for this from Lissa's Raw Food Romance. She's fantastic with the wraps, and doing it this way makes it really easy. With the long spatula, you can easily spread everything out and it makes it really quick and simple. So once you've got it on the tray, you're just going to use the spatula to spread it out evenly, right up to the corners, and then flatten it out. If you're using this size dehydrator and this size tray, this should be the perfect amount to fill up the square. Okay, now that that's all smooth, we're going to score it. And the shape and size that I like are little squares, and I've worked out that 36 little bickies are the exact right size for these chips. So I'm just going to score straight down the center and then divide each half into thirds. So I come along with the knife. I'm not pushing down at all, I'm just using the back of the knife to gently score it. The other side, and then doing the same in the other direction to turn them into little squares. So now I'm going to place this into the dehydrator for between 12 to 14 hours, and I'm going to set the dehydrator at about 45 to 47 degrees Celsius. So now that they're on, I'll just intermittently check how they're going for the first few hours. I might spin them a couple of times just to even out the drying. At about the 5 or 6 hour mark, I'm going to remove the tray and place another tray on top of that tray, flip it over, and then remove the silicone mat from the base. What that will do is put the crackers just onto the mesh tray and allow more heat to generate through the chips. I'm going to keep that in there for the remainder of the time and check in again at about the 12 to 14 hour mark. If you're wanting them to be ready first thing in the morning, so if you say wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, my suggestion would be to start them 14 hours before at around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That way you can flip the mat over at around 8 or 9 o'clock in the night, leave it to dry overnight, and then you'll have crispy crackers in the morning waiting for you. Okay, so the chippies are done. I'm just going to take them out of the dehydrator, and as you can see, the chip sheet is a little bit bendy at the moment. It's because it's just come out of the dehydrator, and this is the way that this particular mixture goes. As you start to remove each chip or each strip of chips, you'll notice that they do start to crack a little bit. Some crack, some don't crack so much, some are a little bit more bendy. But what I found is if you put them into a Tupperware container and put them into the fridge, a little while later they're going to come out perfectly crispy, and they're really, really easy to break apart. They're crunchy, they're delicious, they just go with so many different things. So don't fret if they're not crispy immediately when you take them out of the dehydrator. That is okay for this recipe. Some of them might be quite crispy, and there's been times where I've had them where they've been more crispy than other times. Sometimes they've been a bit more bendy. I put that down to maybe the humidity on the day or the surrounding environment, or simply just the quality of the ingredients or the type of ingredients that I've used on that particular day. So when it comes out, if it is a little bit more like a bark texture, never fear. Just break them down into little squares, place them into a Tupperware container, put them in the fridge, and when you take them out, they're going to be perfectly crispy. So there you have it, a delicious recipe for crispy, crunchy kale chips that are totally dippable, totally savory, delicious, crunchy, and a perfect way to satisfy those crunchy cravings. All completely raw vegan, all completely oil, gluten-free. There's a little bit of fat in the chia seeds I've used. However, it's very minimal. Works out to about 8 grams in the entire batch. So for every 12 crackers, it's going to be around 2 grams of fat. So you can work in what you need to do from there as to how much you have. I'd suggest serving this with a lovely dip like I've got here, a little sweet potato dip. This sweet potato dip is actually very low in fat. So if you are having the extra fats there with the chippies, then you can have something a little bit lower fat with the dip. If you really want to go to town, put it with some sort of avocado dip and your fats will go through the roof. It'll be super creamy and delicious, but this is just another option. You can also serve it up with some little veggies. So I've just got some snacking capsicums here. This would also be a wonderful addition to the crudité platter that you can make. The recipes in the video link below. So I hope that you give this a go, make your own, try it out, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. See you next time.